You gotta have a podcast.
You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to You Gotta Have a Podcast, Season 2, the season of the swerve. I'm Angela Palladino, your host, and I have to admit to you that this is the second time I am recording the intro because I forgot to hit record and I did the whole thing. And now I'm here again, trying to remember all the beautiful, witty, hilarious stuff I said last time. And it's never quite like the first time, you know? Thank you for joining me again on the show this week. I am so excited for you to hear the conversation I have with our guest today, who's a lovely and talented writer, director, and producer, and much, much more, Michele O'Brien. Michele and I get into directing, producing, and podcasting and writing and how visual and audio mediums interact and intertwine and are different and similar in many ways, and the importance of being a performance doula and the importance of good storytelling structure. It's a truly wonderful conversation. I enjoyed it, certainly, and I hope that you do too. Here is my conversation with Michele O'Brien.
I studied theater in like a liberal arts college. So I came out and like acting was the thing that I did the most because you need more actors than you need directors, sound designers, whatever. So I like really liked it. I did a lot of like Shakespeare and stuff, like classical things. Yeah. And so I thought I graduated and I was like, cool, I want to move to New York anyway. Like maybe I'll try my hand at this acting thing. And you know, I really enjoyed it. I still enjoy it, but like, I had a week where I had like a series of 3 auditions and one of them just broke me. And I was like, cool, my desire to do this professionally is absolutely gone. I never want to do this again in my life.
Just like that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. Like I vividly remember leaving that audition and being like, I think I'm cured. I think this is not for me. This like audition and getting cast path. It was probably to hear other people who I know and love who are actors and who do care more about it than me. Yeah. Like this seems like it was particularly bad, even in the grand scheme of things. But like it was just a moment of like, oh, there are people who are really good at this for whom this is worth it. Yeah. And it's not worth it for me anymore. Great. Yeah. Let me take myself out of the pool.
I had that same sort of experience when I just like had a bad audition that I like, it was fine. It wasn't that bad, but I just was like really disappointed in myself. And then I was like, I don't care enough about this to feel like this again. Yeah. Like I really just don't like, and also like, I don't know. I had like kind of a come to Jesus moment where I was like, I didn't even ever really want to be a performer myself. I always wanted to like be a writer and director. And I just got into performing because it also was kind of part of learning everything.
That's true. Yeah. Especially in the comedy world. I feel like you have to perform in order to like understand the mechanics of all of the.
Yeah, exactly. Art. Did you ever do improv stuff?
I did. I did the whole UCB thing for like 3 or 4 years, maybe even more on like an indie team.
Yeah. Oh,
and I enjoyed it, but it was sort of like very lackadaisical always. It was like people who also were like actors doing it because their agents told them to do it. Not that I had an agent, but like, so it was not with people who were like real hardos. And so I feel like I never like that magic really was few and far between. And then I was just like, oh, like, again, the same thing of like, I don't care enough about this. Other people care way more. I'd rather watch people do it.
Exactly.
That way.
Now, I know we met in sketch class, right? I forget was it Madeline Baldanzi's advanced sketch?
Yeah. The like genre.
That class was fun.
It was so fun. I loved that class.
I forget what I did that laundry sketch.
Oh yeah.
I remember
teen movie genre.
Yeah. Teen movie genre. All I remember was, who was it? Was it Brian who built that city out of cardboard?
Oh my God. Yes. For like that Godzilla one. That was so fucking funny. I loved that. Great. Yeah. We met in that sketch class. Yeah. And at that point I'd been doing sketch for like a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is like, were you, when you were acting and stuff, were you also kind of always writing kind of on the side for yourself?
That's a really great question. Actually, the answer is no. So I was always directing. So I like did a lot of like theater directing stuff. And so directing in that world is like just the performance stuff, less of the like developing showrunner kind of thing that it is in the sketch world. And so I knew I really liked being in rooms and like collaboration and stuff. And I really, really liked working with actors. But then I like on a whim, I don't know, like 2015, 2016 was like, oh, I should write something. I should take a writing class. Why not? And then I just like fell hard and then just was like obsessive from that point on. I was like, oh, okay. It just like something clicked and I was like, oh, writing. Of course, this is the thing you've been looking for. You've been looking for more control as an actor. You felt out of control. Like this is the way you do the thing you actually want to do. So that was kind of refreshing.
Did you start with like having to write for like wanting to write for yourself as a performer and then transition? Or was it always like, I'm going to write things that are just like that story and maybe I'll be in it, maybe I won't? It
was usually the latter, actually, like, which is kind of funny thinking back, because you're right. Like the usual path is like you start writing for yourself and then you're like, oh, maybe other people. But I always really wanted like to like write a thing and then watch somebody do it and like almost write and direct at the same time.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm similar. So I started as a writer and director, just like in my like professionally. And then I got into performing because I took improv classes to get better at writing sketch.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was always more about like the story. Here's a question for you. I want to know how your brain works. Mm-hmm. So I like full on, like there's like a movie playing behind my eyelids. Like I can just like see it. And then, you know, the work is translating that onto the page. Yeah. Do you think that way too? Or are you more of like an outline, figure it out as you go type person?
So I'm a bit of both. Like there are certain moments where I'm like, I see this. I could direct it and film it. If I had the technical expertise, I know exactly what it's supposed to look like. Oh shit, how do I put it on the page? But I also like, I find that beyond a moment by moment level for like a whole story, I don't see it. I need to like do the work of like sitting down and really hashing something out to make it work, particularly if you're something like a pilot or like a play or something like that. I really need to know where it's going so I can like do the work up front. I am in awe of people who just like write and it flows out of them. That's just not my journey.
Well, I need to, I can see the moments, like you said, I guess, but actually having a good structure, that's the thing that I have to like sit down and be like, all right, what do I need here? What puzzle pieces am I missing?
And that makes a lot of sense to me for you because you are like a writer director and in the film world. So like you do think very cinematically. That makes perfect sense to me that that's a strength of yours.
I was just like, oh, it would be so cool if we did this. And oh man. So I don't know if also it was literally like 4 years ago when we had that class together. But one of my biggest notes always is like for sketch classes is all of my pitches are just like a moment that I think is really funny. And then I'm like, and then I could build a game out of that. And, and it's usually like, this is happening, but this song is playing. And then this person says this and it's funny. And I've gotten the note multiple times. It's like, that's not a pitch. That's right. And I'm like, okay, sure, but it could be.
It could be. Right. And I am the same way. I think like being on a consistent sketch team and like hearing people who are more sketch brained pitch all the time. I was like, oh no, I got to get better at this. But like I've started now because my brain works very similarly to yours. It seems like I started now. I have a list in my phone of like sketch ideas, scene ideas, like B plot of a sitcom. Just like things that I'm like, I know this is something. I know this is an image I love. I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to be better.
That actually is a good idea. I need to like separate the lists.
Because it's hard because especially when you're pitching sketch and especially when you're pitching sketch like for like once a month, bringing in 10 pitches or whatever. It's like very, very difficult to be like, okay.
Yeah, when you get down to like pitch like 8, 9, 10, it's just like half idea.
This is a pun. Maybe I can make a costume. Yeah. It's very, very like usually in a pitch, I'm like 2 of these are games.
Yeah.
2 of these. And then I'm like, and I'll take that actor pitch.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Are you still doing sketch stuff through the whole pandemic?
A little bit. So my mod team from last year, Grown Ass Women. We've like done a weekly hangout for most of the pandemic.
Oh, cool.
Very not creatively focused, more just like therapy for each other. When you put a bunch of women in their 30s on the same sketch team, that's kind of what it turns into, which has been a delight. And we did a couple of like digital shows, and we did one in-person show like in July. But like I haven't felt very funny.
Yeah, I mean,
so
God,
like,
same.
I just feel like,
my whole, like, a lot of the reason why I decided to start, because I always knew I wanted to do a second season of this podcast, but I wasn't sure when. And one of the reasons I wanted to have these conversations right now is because I'm like, I don't feel funny, but I know that I am funny. Like when I chat with people and I'm hanging out, I can make jokes.
Exactly.
But it's like when I sit down to think of things, it just isn't coming out. And then I get on Twitter and I feel even more depressed. So it's like,
exactly. It's such a fucking vicious cycle, because it's like, you're like, I know it's in there. And then it's like, you can, but when you try to force it, that's also really bad, because then you're like, this is the same thing. Like, this is a half idea, or like, this is a funny hat. Yeah.
So all of my pitches are funny hats this week. We're just going to have to go with a hat.
Show pitch, hat show. I got nothing else. There's the beret sketch. There's the derby sketch. Maybe a 10
My
gallon.
boogie team did a whole themed show around a pun. A couple of years. We did an entire show. We did a Halloween themed show that was... It was like Phantom of the Opera theme. Oh my God, I forget what the pun was. And I played the Phantom of the Opera.
Wow. How dare.
It was great. Because there was like 7 or 8 runners. Like, and every time I would just come out and kill someone. That was the runner.
That's very fun. That's the perfect role in a sketch show.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. And I guess I am directing, speaking of boogie, I'm directing a boogie team, which is like a fun way for me to like keep my foot in. I like subbed for someone. Well, I'm a long-term sub for a boogie team.
You're the director now.
We'll see. They're very fun. I'm very excited. But
which team are you directing for?
Division 4 athletes.
Okay, I think I know.
They have had so much turnover. I think they're.
Oh, really? So probably I don't.
Yeah.
I quit right when I was like already planning to quit when the pandemic happened, and March was supposed to be my last show. And then
so you never got it.
Yeah. No. And so I'm like, I don't really know what's going on over there anymore. So I still know some people that are doing it, but
yeah, they've been doing it. It's funny to see sort of like people using it as like a creative home, and like it feels very like, at least the team that I was directing, it feels like a very like safe, comforting space to create in, where everyone's like, no fucking pressure. We're doing this on our phones. Everyone's got a green screen. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like it feels
good. And it's true. You can kind of like mess around a bit more because no one expects like anything of you. So you can like take risks.
Exactly. And like I've done so many digital shows, and for all of them, like I have to keep reminding myself, like, this is a show on the internet that maybe 20 people will see. It doesn't matter. Like use this as an exercise for yourself. Maybe that's me being rude to an audience, but I feel like I don't know. It's hard to do anything right now.
It is. And I think like honestly just showing up is half the battle.
Truly. I would so much rather be in my bed.
The good thing about digital shows is you can do them from your bed.
Oh, this is what I'm saying. I think Broadway should go digital. I think we should all be taking in Hamilton from bed.
To see like actually we have seen that though. We have seen a Zoom version of every Broadway medley over the last.
They're just singing and dancing their hearts out. I mean, I love it.
I guess Broadway is back though. Hadestown had a show last night.
I am seeing a Broadway show tonight.
Oh my God, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing Passover, the play.
Oh, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, it's it's a play. It's at Lincoln Center Theater. They did it in their off-Broadway space last season, I guess, to rave reviews, and they are reviving it.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's the only show on Broadway right now. We're like one of 2.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I did see Jacqueline Novak's one-woman show twice.
Oh, she's so fucking good. That show makes me so happy.
I was sitting there the whole time, jaw to the floor, just like, oh my God, this is like, my brain was just like fireworks. It was just like,
it's so freaking smart. I love
it's
it.
so smart.
I
was just also like, I was like, wow, these references, I was just eating them up. I was like, some of this shit I never expected to hear in a dick joke.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Did you see it in her like recent tour post-pandemic? Or not post-pandemic?
I never got a chance to see it before the pandemic. So then when she came back, I saw it. I bought tickets immediately. It was the first thing that I saw. And then I like saw it again like 2 weeks later.
That's amazing.
I was like, I'm going again. I don't care. I will spend the $75. She's a genius.
She really is.
I think that they're taping it. I think she's gearing up to probably film it for like a special.
Great.
Which is wonderful because then the whole world will get to experience that genius.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Oh, yeah, that's great.
Has directing over digital been like creatively fulfilling or for you in like a new way?
So yes and no, right? So on the one hand, so I've done some like sketch directing and also some theater directing. My friend, both through like this company called 7 by 7 that does these like little short play, like micro festivals.
Yeah.
And they transferred online. And then also my friend Jessie has a theater company that they were like, how do we make a pandemic safe theater world? She's like a musical theater writer and composer.
Yeah.
So like, it's been cool because I'm like, oh, to make this play in a bathroom work, I have to like use different camera angles. And like, oh, can your friend do a tracking shot? And how do we figure out how to make this happen? So that's been new for me because I come from like a stage world.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're just, film directing at that point.
Kind of, yeah. And on the other hand, it's like annoying because I'm like, cool, like now I will teach you how to turn off your ambient sound on Zoom. So this Zoom play, you can sound like you have overlapping dialogue. And I hate that I know how to do that now. It's just like, it's very sad to not be in the same room as people and to like be rolling around on the floor and be like, do it like this.
Yeah. Especially for theater stuff.
Yeah. But I also think the sketch stuff has been really nice because I think because instead of like rehearsing on its feet, it's like you rehearse it and then people go away and film.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit more like the thing that I don't miss about being on a sketch team and writing sketch regularly is the schedule of it. It's insane. The pace of like 6 hours of rehearsal a week. And then you're also writing 4 drafts. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. And I think this digitally, it sort of like eases the pressure a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
It really is. I look back at my sketch schedule before, even because I was doing sketch and stand up and like some other stuff too. And I'm just like, how was I doing that? I don't know. It was just every night,
exactly. Every night. And it's sort of like, it felt like if you weren't putting up the little like graphic with your show dates for the month, like,
good God. I hope I never have to make a show date graphic again.
Right.
I hope that like next time I have to do that, I at least have like someone on my team to make it for me.
Oh, that's a vision board worthy statement. Yeah.
Picking the fucking picture, typing it into Canva.
This venue has a weirdly long name. How do I format that?
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like, you got to abbreviate it.
Yeah. Not good. Not good. Yeah. It's just I don't miss the grind bit of it. And it's coming back a little bit, which is driving me crazy.
It is. I'm honestly like hoping that things shut down again. No, I'm not. I think everything is good. It is interesting though. So I'm directing a stand-up special.
Cool.
For streaming in November, and we had like our walkthrough this week, and it's just like so weird to be like, okay, like we're packing a venue, but like everyone's gonna have their masks on, and like also this is in November, so maybe it won't happen. And it's a crazy world for live shows right now.
How do you plan for something like that? Like in the production kind of world, what are you guys doing? What are your contingency plans? Or is it just sort of like,
it's just a lot of like fingers crossed, like everything can be done. It's just like everyone has to have a vaccine. Everyone's getting tested when they arrive. Like we have to pay. So it's a lot more money. And also the crews are smaller because you want to limit the number of people.
Totally.
So like everyone is doing like 3 jobs, getting paid the same that they were before, but then a bunch of extra money is going to COVID protocols. And then it's kind of chaos. And like, everything that you can do outside, you're doing outside. It's not ideal.
Yeah, it seems not ideal. Just especially the thing of like everyone is doing way more work and not getting paid. I imagine that is really shitty, especially coming from like we all thought this was going to be some reckoning where we give each other more breaks and we're kinder to one another in the workplace.
Absolutely not.
No. Yeah.
It is like also with production stuff, it is like the budgets are smaller because they're the same budgets, but now you have to spend a bunch of extra money on COVID protocols instead of just giving us extra money for the COVID protocols. And then the turnarounds are so tight.
Really?
Everyone is just like, I think it's because it's like, there's a window right now. We have to do it right now. So it's been fun, but you know what? I'm grateful to have work because I didn't work for like 8 months of last year.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but like, when are like production companies and like the money people going to use up that goodwill, like use up that thing of like, I'm just grateful for work.
I mean, it's already happening, I think, but like,
what are you gonna do?
I don't know. I think everyone has just sort of decided that we're done with the pandemic, you know, for more lack of a better term. I mean, I haven't, but like a lot of people have just been like, things are normal. And I'm like, well, no, we're just operate anyway.
Right. No, I fully hear. That's awful. I've been in a really lucky position to be able to like work from my house this whole time. So
I'm curious, how did you get into like podcast producing?
Yeah.
And that sort of whole world.
So I, for many years, for like 10 years, my day job has been as a SAT tutor, which is like
cool,
fine and flexible. And like, you know, it's a way to make money. And so a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm sick of this. I feel like more like I'm in a moral quandary about it. Like it's actively not hurting, but not helping the world. I need to switch day jobs. And so a friend I knew through a theater program I had done, worked for this theater podcast called Playing on Air, which was like short plays on the radio. And I was like, I feel like that feels like a good, like technical, but also creative kind of day job. Yeah. It's only part-time, but like, let me throw my hat in the ring and see. And I ended up working there for 2.5 years. And like, luckily, like it was a small team and very like theater forward, which is why I was able to get in the door. But I was also able to like learn Pro Tools on the job, sort of learn like the life cycle of a podcast, learn a little bit more about engineering. So it was like a really, really lucky kind of get that I got to learn on the job. And then I left that at the end of December this year. So I worked there during the pandemic. We like switched everything from being in studio to like remote shipping mics all over the country. Big old pain in the ass. And then so since like March, I have just had a pretty lucky steady stream of freelance clients. And then I like got a part-time job at a podcast shop. And so I've been like working pretty steadily and like getting to like be the lead producer on things, which has been a very cool.
That's awesome.
Shift. Yeah. So
that's great.
I feel very lucky, but also like it's a cool evolution.
Yeah, that's really cool. I had never seen myself doing audio stuff because audio has always confused and baffled me. Even like I've been directing video and commercials for like a decade, but like I just hire good audio people and I'm like, please, like do this.
Exactly.
I can edit most of my stuff and then I send it off to someone for sound mixing. Like, I just like make it sound good. But then during the pandemic I was like, I need to be able to edit audio. I just have to be better at recording my own and editing audio. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to like teach myself so that I can apply for podcast jobs because there was no video jobs because no one could go on set. So then that last year, that was like a lot of, it's part of the reason why this podcast exists. It's part of I do VO now.
Cool.
Which I was totally a coincidence. I've booked like some stuff through other ways. Like I was writing on a show where I was recording the scratch VO. I was writing on a show for the History Channel. And then they had me record the scratch track VO for the editors. And then they liked it so much that they just like hired me to re-record it like for the actual episodes.
Amazing.
And then that same production company did a commercial that they wanted to use me for. So like I've booked some things, but not through all the auditions that I go on all the time.
So funny.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always the way it happens, though. It's like, oh, right. Someone you worked with 3 years ago remembers you from this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's so weird.
Every writing or directing gig I've ever gotten has been like through a connection from years ago or like.
I've almost never gotten. In fact, I've had one example of one job, one client that I've gotten through just sending them my stuff kind of randomly.
That's it.
Everything else is just personal connections.
Wow.
Like I work with someone, then they refer me to someone else. Do you find that with like mostly everything?
With theater, 100%. I feel like I
Yeah.
can trace all of my like now friends and collaborators, the people who I'll say yes to without kind of reading their stuff, to like one summer's worth of one gig. Like there's like a web from this one woman through all of that.
That's great. You should send her a fruit basket.
Honestly, I really should. Ari, if you're out there, I'm here for you. Fruit basket incoming. But yeah, for podcast stuff, weirdly, like a lot of it has come through connections. But like one of my jobs, I applied through a portal, like an online portal. I was like, who knows if this will ever come to fruition? And I got it.
That's great.
Which is like, I was shocked. I was floored. Like throughout, I was applying to jobs all this winter, and it was fucking miserable. But
it's bleak out there.
Oh shit, it is terrible. It is. I would not wish applying to jobs on my worst enemy, and I know that everyone is applying to jobs right now. So I feel bad for everybody. Been there. No, I read one of the podcasts I produce is this like women in business thing. So I feel like I'm consuming a lot of like business stats. But one thing that one of the hosts brought up is something like 65% of the labor force is job seeking right now.
Sick. I mean, I haven't had a gig in like a month and a half, and I'm starting to get a little restless and worried because usually it's fine. Like, from like last September through June, I was flat out, like so crazy busy. And then it kind of all like dried up, and it'll come back. But like, I'm just like, where's everybody for the summer?
Weird. That's so weird. And so you've been a freelancer for years, right? Yeah,
I've been freelancing since 2013.
Wow. And you've been feeling like, is it like a steady drip of gigs, or is it more
the first like 5 years it was pretty dicey, you know. It was, and I had one client that when I first moved to New York, so I started freelancing in 2013, I moved to New York in 2014, and when I was in Boston still before I moved here, I was freelancing, but then I was also like waiting tables because like I didn't have enough clients to support me. And I moved here, and I like worked at a production company for like 6 months, but it was like contract. I wasn't an employee. They were just like paying me a weekly rate, kind of like under the table.
Yep.
And then after that, I like worked at another production company for a number of years, basically full time. But again, it was like they were just paying me a weekly rate. So it wasn't like a real, like I wasn't like a salaried employee. Yeah. And I took other gigs on the side of that. Like I took a lot of freelance on the side of that. And then after that, I just like really hustled, and like the connections I had made doing those jobs with those two production companies, and like just sort of built up my client list. Yeah. And then it started to snowball and like become very like solid in about 2017. Yeah. 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 Like beginning of 2017 was when I stopped working at like any like sort of full-time in-house stuff. And I've just been like project to project since then. And it's been mostly good. I mean, like last year, I didn't have anything going on from like March and through August. But then end of August, it picked back up. And then I was insanely busy from like November through June. But then I haven't done almost anything since like late June. I've had like a couple of small like 1 day gigs or like a couple of editing things. But so, you know, that's my journey.
Drips and drops. No, it seems like I am now just like starting that for the first time, because even though I've been sort of doing freelancing stuff for the last, 3 years on the side, I've always been technically on salary at the tutoring company. And now that safety net, it's like a small salary, not like a full-time salary, but now that safety net is like going away. But
I do like the idea. I wonder if you like this too. Like the idea of like, the more I try, the more I get. Like the harder I work, the more like one of the things that always bothered me about being on salary, and the whole reason I'm a freelancer in general, is because my job before that, I worked in events and marketing, and I was working like 90-hour weeks and still getting my like same salary. And I like did the math, and it was like less than minimum wage. And I was making like 50 grand a year in Boston in like 2012. So that's like a decent salary. But when you like, and you're like, oh shit, this is like $12 an hour when you like,
right. When you do
the math on how many hours you're working. I was like, no. Like, I want to get paid for every hour that I'm working.
Yeah. I think that's it. And I think there's an element of like, I also, especially now that everything's remote, it's nice to be able to be like, cool, on Tuesday, I'm going to do work for 4 different clients and they're going to think they have me for the time they have me, but I'm going to be able to like knock so much more out. Or
it's the best thing in the world.
Last night I finished writing a script while I was watching You've Got Mail. And I was like, this is the life. Like you can just do things on your own time.
It really is.
I find it so, I don't think I've worked a 9-to-5 like butt in chair office job since 2012.
Yeah, basically the same. Yeah. I guess like I did those in-house things, which was like, but it was production. So,
right. So you're like,
it was 9 to 8.
See, that's toxic. That's a red flag.
But I do find that flexibility and makes me more creative and also makes me more engaged with whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Do you find that like kind of the ability to do things on your own time and in your own way?
100%. And I also find that like thing I learned about myself in the pandemic is I am more productive the busier I am. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you tell me, right, it's just like I have an hour to do this thing, it's getting done in an hour. If I have 8 hours to do it, it's going to take the whole 8 hours. There's just no, like on days when I am scheduled back to back, I actually end up being like, oh, I actually got this big project done. Where when I'm like, today I'm setting out a whole day to write act 1 of my pilot. Nope. It gets written between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. Like, that's what happens. I'm like thinking about it and getting a snack. I'm like, no.
Yeah. It is so interesting to me. Like when I have one thing to do today, right? That one thing is not getting done. Yeah. When I have 20 things to do, all 20 of those things are getting done.
Every single goddamn one. I also find, and here's a question that I actually have for you. I find that when I am busy, the sort of double-edged sort of that coin. Wow, that's a bunch of metaphors.
The double-edged sword of that coin.
You know,
I like that. I'm gonna name the episode that.
Perfect. You're welcome. So the double-edged sword of that coin is that I feel like I prioritize the work that I'm getting paid for and the work that I'm doing for other people over my own creative projects.
Same. I do that.
Which is so hard.
You gotta live. You gotta feed yourself.
You gotta live. But then I'm also like, oh, it's been 3 weeks since I've done this thing that I told myself I would do. And it's just hard to balance, I find.
How do you feel when you have a creative project that's your own project and then like you're kind of psyched on it at first, but then the longer it drags on, you're like resentful of it? Do you ever get that? Because I get that a lot.
100%, especially if I've been kind of like plugging away at a thing that I'm like, I'm addressing your notes and I don't know what more you want me to do. Yeah. Like that dynamic, I just get tired of something. I also feel like a thing that I have stolen from someone, from Cameron McCall, is I love Cameron. She's great. She records note sessions like in a voice memo. And so then even if it's been weeks, she can like listen back to like,
that's good.
Which is so helpful.
Taking notes from a note session.
If you do it in a week, great.
Yeah.
But actually being able to like rehear the conversation.
That's good.
That I feel like perks up my enthusiasm. I'm like, oh, right. Here were the things I was excited about. Here was the note that I couldn't hear in the moment because I had my head up my ass about that thing.
Yeah.
But now that I can hear it with fresh ears, I understand what it's saying and what I need to do.
Yeah, that's really smart. Actually, I'm going to start doing that.
She's the genius.
Yeah. I've been really thinking about recently that I need to like be better about, especially now that we're like sort of siloed and not like in a writer's room right now, is like asking people for like feedback and be like, hey, can you read my thing? Because like, I think I've gotten kind of bogged down with like just kind of being siloed, and I can't work a single. It's hard.
My brain doesn't work unless there are other brains asking me questions about it. Like it just straight up doesn't work.
Same.
Oh my God. Do you want to start a writing group?
I mean, maybe we should.
I feel like we should. Yeah. Cause it's just like the feedback loop of like, I wrote this thing and I like, it's like any writer one, right? You come in with something where you're like, does this make sense? And then hearing either laughter or crickets tells you like, oh, okay, now I know what to do with it. But like, I feel like writing by myself, I feel like I can't get outside of myself enough.
Yeah.
Because especially I feel like, and this is kind of like a male idea, but there's this sort of like picture of like the auteur, right? The guy who just
Hemingway
like
with a glass of whiskey.
Exactly. Or like fucking, I don't know, Martin Scorsese, right? Like, like just people going off and like creating and making a thing and then doing it all themselves. Yeah. And like sometimes that works, but I feel like women aren't allowed to do it. And also like, I don't like that way of working. So I find it useless.
I like even directing when you're like kind of, you know, if you wanted to be, you could be like, only the things that I want to do are what we're going to do. I hate that.
Right. Because then
because I've worked with directors like that before and it's awful.
Right. And you can also see, especially if it's something with actors, you can see them deflate when their ideas like aren't taken into account. Yeah. I think actors are geniuses. And I think like as a director, particularly a stage director, like your job is actor doula or performance doula. Your job is to like help them do the thing they need to do to put it on stage. And it's in their body. So like no matter if you think the line reading should be that way, if that doesn't make sense in their body, great. Yeah. Fuck it. Doesn't matter. It's not going to work.
Yeah. It's so I get so in my head about that directing because in almost every situation where I like make a decision on set, for example, I'm like, all right, here's what I think, like, here's what I think we should do. Let's try this. We'll do it once. And especially for like, you know, when you can do multiple takes. And then after that, I'm like, all right, like I'll ask the actors, like, what did you think? Do you want to do it a different way? I'll ask the DP. I'm like, what do you think? Like, should we do it differently? Like, do you have any ideas? Yeah. And I always feel like, am I not doing my job and just asking other people to do my job for me? Or is that collaboration? And I feel like it's collaboration, but I get in my head.
I know. And I think that's, again, like we can't win, right? Yeah. Like if you're not the dominant group, everything you're doing is always wrong at all times. Yeah. But I think to me, that sounds like collaboration. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it is collaboration, but I get like bogged in my head about like, you know, oh, like, but here's the thing. If you are that person who doesn't collaborate, right, isn't the doula for ideas out of the people on your team, one, you select the people on your team because you like their ideas.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. But so if you're not that person and you only want your vision and then it's like, say it comes out bad, like that's all you. Yeah. Like you fucked it up.
Yeah. And I also think part of it, like it almost seems like people who are that controlling, it comes from a place of like, I want it to be good and I only trust myself.
Yes.
And I think it's that lack of trust that like, if you only trust yourself, then you're not a creative.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, it is just very much of like you hire good people because you trust and respect their work. Like you cast these actors because you like what they do. Like,
exactly.
You get these like this crew because you like what they do. Like, why would you not let them just do what they do?
Right. I forget who, some theater director I was reading an interview with, and they were basically like, yeah, my job is to get the right people in the room and then take all the credit.
I mean, basically,
that's what it is, right? Because like you said, like you hired these actors because you think they're geniuses. You hired this DP, you hired this designer because you like what they do and you liked maybe their pitch for the project, or you just like their brain and want to see what they can do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. I feel like we have a similar vibe on collaboration.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know. I feel like, you know, no one is that big of a genius.
That's the thing.
You know, I'm sorry. Yeah. Even if you really asked like Scorsese or something.
Yeah.
He has a DP that he's been working with for 30 something years.
He's been working with Thelma for forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's people just give him all the credit. That's exactly what you just said.
Exactly. And I think the best sort of thing people are that I look up to are the people like Tina Fey who are quick to be like, actually look at this wonderful room of people. Like I cannot take all the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting to think about like the work of what it means to be a director and then also the work of what it means to lead the room. And I think they're related, but totally different skill sets. And I've worked with some brilliant like artistic directors who can't run a room that actually provides a safe space to do good work or like a generative space.
It's such I've also had one of my first bosses when I moved to New York and worked at a production company. He was an incredibly toxic person. He was an incredible editor and a pretty good director, but like every single person that was working on the sets was just sad and angry the whole time because of the way that they were being treated.
That sucks.
But yeah, it was like through experiences like that, like I definitely like kind of made like a promise to myself to like try to do better.
Yeah.
By like the people that I was working with. Because why would you want to treat people like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like, how are you finding, so now like your 9 to 5 is creative, like you're doing the podcast producing and writing for that. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, on the, you know, your 5 to 9 is like you're directing sketch, you're writing some of your own stuff. Do you find that like you're, you know, the whole day much more creatively fulfilled than you were when you had like the tutoring job? Because I know like some people are like, your day job should be something that's just mindless and it's fun and easy so that you can focus all your stuff on your creative at night. But I actually never really felt that way.
Yeah. I mean, so I think the truthful answer is like, I don't know yet. Like it still feels like it's pretty up in the air. And I'm like, especially a lot of my clients were on hiatus over the summer. So things are picking up in the fall and I'm like newly figuring out the balance. But like, I just got to the point where I was like, my brain is so numb during the day. That can't be good for me as a creative person.
That's how I felt when like, I was working like jobs that were kind of mindless during the day.
Yeah. And it got to the point where like the tutoring thing sure was maybe intellectually stimulating at the beginning because I was like, oh, I have to relearn algebra. Like that'll light up my brain a little bit. But by the time you're 9 years in, firing away. But by the time you're like 9 years into a day job, it's like I could do this in my sleep. Like I'm not even paying attention anymore. Yeah. And I just felt like parts of my brain were atrophying. And so like part of
all the algebra was slipping back down into the depths of your spinal cord.
And I was just like soulless, like, what is the goal of the question? But like, and look, like there were things about the job that were fine, but it just got to the point where I was like, even if it does get in the way of my own creative stuff, like, something's got to give. Something has to change. Yeah. I can't, like, my brain, I am not happy in this way. And then the other thing that I was sort of thinking is like, look, like, worst case, like, I am still a writer. I'm still going to be doing that stuff for as long as I find it fulfilling. But like, on the very large chance that something doesn't pan out because everything is like luck. Right. Then I'm working at a career that is fulfilling and there is a career path forward. There is growth there that's also artistic. Which feels nice. I
am 100% on board with that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so like, I have that same thought. Like, I feel like as long as I'm like being challenged to, you know, write a script. Yeah, sure. It's a script for a client. And sure, we're selling toothpaste and it's like they want it to be a little funny. Like, but I like
love that. A little funny,
you know, but like I'm not, you know, it's not like my friggin' Mona Lisa, but it is like a little bit of a challenge. It gets the juices flowing. I try to think of like a lot of that type of work as like my sort of warm up work to keep me like stretched out and limber for when I'm trying to work on my own stuff.
Exactly. And it also like, I don't know, I feel like, so right now, one of a pilot I wrote last year, 2 years ago. Oh my God, what is time? We're trying to like package it and sell it as an audio drama. And now I'm like, I actually have expertise that works. Like I'm building skills that are not useless, that are cool, that are like, I don't know, useful and interesting.
That is so also like we don't know what's going to happen with the industry and like podcasting is just kind of like expanding in a way that like, like your pilot that you wrote for the screen, it could now, and you know what? A sale is a sale. Getting a show on the air, regardless if it's the, you know, audio airwaves or the TV airwaves, it's still a win.
It's something out there, right?
Yeah.
It's something that's like cool and interesting and mine. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Another friggin' fire truck is going by.
Siren break.
Oh man. I used to be very spoiled because my old apartment, I moved in here in December, but my old apartment I lived in, I had like a dedicated closet in the middle of my apartment that was like no windows near it. And I like made it into a sound booth.
That's awesome.
And I built a sound booth in my new apartment for all my VO stuff, but I have to stand up in it. So it's only good for recording like performance stuff. But like if I'm sitting and having a convo, like I wouldn't want to stand for the whole hour that we're talking.
Totally.
So, just like sitting at my desk.
It's totally fine. Yeah. In my new apartment, I'm trying to figure out where I can make a sort of like sound cage.
Yeah.
At the very least, something that's absorbent behind the mic.
Yeah, I got like these panels for the walls, and then I got a couple of curtains and made like a bathtub, like sound curtain thing. Cool. Yeah,
that's really
it works.
Smart. Hey, whatever works.
Yeah. So just to sort of wrap up here, I guess, like, have you? Oh, wait, actually, let me format my thought for a second because we're just jumping back in after siren break here. Like. What like excites you about like the new challenges of sort of like collaborating with, not collaborating, like blending your new podcasting work that you've been doing freelance and like having a more leadership role in podcasting with like your directing and your writing stuff? Like, is there anything like particularly exciting or challenging for you, like moving forward, that you're really kind of buzzing about?
Yeah, I think the thing that has been the biggest learning experience is how much of being a podcast producer is about being good at structuring story.
Yeah.
It like blew me away a little bit because, you know, like especially one of the shows I work on, which is called Unladylike, which is like more produced and less chatcasty.
Yeah.
It's you get like 2 hours worth of tape from 2 interviews and you have to like cut it down and write VO and structure it so it makes sense as a compelling 35-minute piece.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool exercise. It's almost like one of my roommates is a documentary editor and it almost feels similar to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, cool. Like, what's my in? What's my cold open? What's the where do I want to build to? What's my ending tape? And it's been amazing and sort of complementary to my other work to realize how much of this is actually about storytelling, which is a skill set that I've been building extracurricularly this whole time.
Hugely. Yeah. Like I've worked as an editor a lot and specifically as a story editor for like a number of years. And it is. Yeah. And I found with working on podcast stuff, although this podcast particularly is a little bit more chatty, it is about like sort of like just clipping out and formatting things in a certain way. And yeah, it really is like that is my favorite part about everything that we do. Like, the reason I feel like, you know, you're a multidisciplined artist, I am as well. Most of the people that I talk to for this podcast are. I think the reason that we are able to like be multidisciplined is because it's the story is what it's really about. Yeah. And that is all communicated through, you know, the performance, the direction, the writing, even the editing, you know? Exactly. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's cool. I know, like, it feels so cheesy to be like, I'm a storyteller.
It is
like,
so cheesy. I know. I hate it. And I have that written on my website, and I hate that I do.
Same. And like, there was a while where someone was like, maybe change it to like teller of stories. And I said, that's worse. It's so much worse.
It is worse.
I mean, like, but there's no good way. There's no other good sort of like overarching way to describe it. And that's what it is. It's like, we are good at distilling big things into something followable and interesting and compelling. Hopefully funny.
Hopefully. That's the goal.
But just a little funny, like that toothpaste commercial.
I do think maybe you should start calling yourself a troubadour.
Ooh.
That's not cheesy at all.
No. And then I can get one of those like little rigs with a harmonica on it to keep my mouth.
And like a hat with a feather.
All right. I feel like this rebrand is going to be good for me.
I think so, too. I look forward to your next pivot into troubadour.
Oh, my God. And thank you so much for the idea. I will give you full credit.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been such a lovely conversation, and also to talk to another sort of writer, producer, director. Yeah. Which I really haven't chatted with anyone like that in a while. It's just like, oh, it makes me feel good.
Yeah. And this was such a fun chat. I'm so glad to find that we have so much more in common with the way our brains work.
Yeah, even seriously. Knew. I think we are kindred. Yeah, we're brain twins.
Love.
Honestly, let's start a writing group.
I'm very in.
I need motivation, Michelle.
Angela, you have no idea. I'm like, maybe I'll open this PDF from. Oh no, I haven't opened it since June.
I
Bad.
have a pilot that I've been writing since 2017.
Oh no, dude.
I wrote it all the way, and then I put it away for like 2 years.
Okay.
And then I redlined it to shit, rewrote it. Then I redlined that. Then I put that away for like 6 months. Then I redlined that to shit and I rewrote it. But then I condensed everything to the first 2 acts.
Ooh.
And now I have to write the whole third act again. And I have an outline.
Yep.
But I have not. I did the outline last fall. It's
I
just
feel like
still
with
sitting
stuff
there
like
with
that-
an empty third act.
Can I show you? This is my outline for my work in progress.
Ooh, window outline.
And it is faded because that's a faded big thing because I have not touched it in months.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Hey, it's all a process. As long as you're doing something, it's
We're
a
trying.
win.
We're out here. We're trying. We can but try. We're only out here trying. Just simply trying so hard. All the time. Literally can't stop trying. Just trying so hard. Anyway. Thank you, Michele, for speaking with me. It was a lovely conversation. I really appreciated you coming on the podcast. It was just great. If you want to follow Michele, you can follow her on Twitter at Michele_OB. That's Michele with 1 L. At MICHELE_OB. And hey, if you're over there on Twitter and you want to follow me too, I'm at AngPal. I have more episodes coming for you down the pipeline in season 2, the season of the Swerve. So please like, subscribe, follow, whatever the button says on your podcast app. I'd really appreciate it if you followed the podcast. And if you have a second, I'd really, really appreciate it if you could rate and review. It would mean the world to me and also would really help me out. So thank you for doing that. We'll have a new episode for you out next week with more swerves coming at you. But until then, I've been Angela Palladino. This has been You Gotta Have a Podcast. And I guess I'll just talk to you next week. Later.